It is time for a Canadian men's national team November preview. We got some games coming up against Ecuador and Venezuela. And in this video, I'm going to react to the Canadian squad that was announced a couple days ago. I'm going to give a breakdown of both opponents, Venezuela and Ecuador, tell you guys strengths and weaknesses, how I see the games going down, what my score prediction is, and a couple mini objectives for Canada. Before we get started, though, I want to say that while I cannot promise I will be live for one of these games on the channel, despite me going live for the Australia and Colombia games last time, what I can promise is that this is not the last time I will be talking Canada on the channel. I focus a lot of my content on CONCACAF and CONMEBOL specifically, so if you guys are interested in either of those topics, I encourage you to hit subscribe now, because I'm going to have a ton of things to say about Canada and Canadian players leading up to the next World Cup. Smash the like button if you guys could, and let me know down below in the comments points predictions for Canada in this window. How many are they taking? Let me know. Let's do the squad reaction now. I will throw it on screen so you guys can read this along with me as I go through it. I will start with the attack. It's basically a 9 out of 10. Yes, there's no Schaffelberg, there's no Liam Miller. There's also no excuses for Canada. If y'all don't score a goal in this window, I better not see a single person in the comments talking about personnel omissions or players missing. No, this attack is freaking stacked. It's not only stacked for CONCACAF standards, it's stacked for CONMEBOL standards. Jonathan David, Promise David, Tani Oluwase, Tejan in here. This is a Champions League attack, y'all. This is a really, really strong piece of Canada. I think even sidebar, way back in the day before the last Copa America, I made the argument that Canada has a top 5 attack at the Copa America. I got a lot of pushback for that, but it is true. And I think as these Canadian players progress their careers, we're seeing that more and more. The midfield is also pretty much all there. For me, another mini objective, I want to see more Nathan Saliba, man. He got 70 minutes last window. I think he's ahead of scheduled Anderlecht. He's so much more important to the squad this year than what I was expecting. He's getting more minutes than what I was expecting. Let him cook. Let him get more minutes. Jesse Marsch, please. I want to see him, and I want to see Promise David, and I want to see it now. That's what I want for Canada this window. Please, I just want to see those guys get significant minutes. Now, the defense is the opposite of the offense, both literally on the pitch, but also in terms of the health score, because Luke de Figueroa, another center back, has gone down with another injury. So no Alistair Johnson, no Bombito, no Davies, and now no Figueroa. It's not good, and I feel bad for Derek Cornelius because he's got zero chem with whoever his center back partner is. It's Waterman, it's Miller, it's Figueroa, it's Bombito, and my man is just the last guy standing. So 99 durability for Derek Cornelius. Let me knock on wood very quickly. Now, good news for Canada. Alfie Jones is going to be making his debut. This guy's a 28-year-old center back playing for Middlesbrough, English-Canadian, believe he had a Canadian grandfather or something like that. Now, I'm not going to lie to you guys for 1 second. I don't know what he's good at. I don't know what he's bad at. I don't really care. I'm not a dual nat tracker channel. This is not what DeadBall TV is about. If you care about that and all the other 16-year-olds who are eligible for 5 different countries, there are other accounts for you to follow that are more qualified than me. I don't care. I just hope that he plays so that I can form my own opinion. Until then, I have nothing further to say. I also don't really have much to say about Owen Goodman, who is another goalkeeper, which is a bit of a weird situation because Jesse Marsch said that he was ineligible, that there was no way for him to represent Canada. And then all of a sudden, he's got a passport. Like, I don't know. To me, it looks weird. I'm not saying we got some forgery going on here, but I would like an explanation on how we just got him a passport. Like, you don't just walk down the street, look down, and I see a Canadian passport with my personal information on there. Like, clearly he did have a relative or something caused this to be eligible. Whatever. Again, it doesn't matter. I'm Team Crepo anyways, but Jesse Marsch seemed really excited to get Goodman into the squad. I would expect him to play, actually. Jesse Marsch is a pretty good man manager, so I feel like he's going to reward Goodman trying so hard to debut for Canada. That's all I have to say about the squad. I would rate it. I mean, it's hard with the defense, but it's a 7.5 Canada squad. Maybe a 7 if you want to say because of just the stars and the defense missing. Sure, but this is a good enough team to get results in this window. And in this window, we're going to start with the Ecuador game first. Ecuador and Canada have not played each other for over a decade. I think there's only been one meaningful game. This is the 4th meeting all time between the two sides. As of time of recording, Ecuador has not announced their squad. So please keep that in mind when people come back and check this video. If I'm predicting something like Gonzalo Plata to score a goal, and then he's not even called up because he gets injured in his last Brasileiro, or Brazilian Serie A game, yeah, again, just keep that context in mind. This will be Ecuador's third CONCACAF opponent in a row after playing the United States and Mexico in the last window. And I have to say, they looked pretty bad. Like this is a team that looked significantly weaker than the team that finished second in the CONMEBOL World Cup qualifying table. And just as a little backstory for y'all who are not aware, there's a lot of pressure right now on Becasese, the Ecuadorian manager. A lot of people feel like he's a fraud. A lot of people feel like he's underqualified. He is underqualified to lead a team such as Ecuador. And people don't like that he's not able to put a very talented player pool together to form a more balanced team. He's a very defensive-minded guy, and that's why Ecuador, in my opinion, are the best defensive team in the world. They're better than France. They're better than England. They're better than whoever else you guys want to nominate, in my opinion. Ecuador is the best defensive national team in the world, and yet you look at how they did against the United States and Mexico. They were very lucky to only concede once against Mexico, and they didn't keep a single clean sheet. And it's not like Mexico and the United States are high-flying elite national teams right now. I mean, Mexico's not down bad, but the United States is in a pretty bad place. They're not in the sunken place, but, you know, again, vibes are low. And Mexico's a team that struggles to score. So it was concerning that they conceded in both games, and it was concerning that they were unable to beat either team. And I can promise you now, Becasese and Ecuador are absolutely coming out here for a victory. They do not want to go 3 games in a row against North American teams without a victory. That is something that would bring shame on any CONMEBOL side, let alone what some consider to be the second best team in South America right now. I already said I think they're the best defensive team in football, and if you look at the highlights from last window, both goals that they conceded were actually errors from William Bacho, the Champions League winning center back from PSG. And so kind of something to watch here. Are the goals conceded due to Becasese's system, or was it just a fluke? Was Bacho having a bad window? We're about to find out. Ecuador is an offensively talented team. The problem is, outside of Enner Valencia, one of the greatest Ecuadorians of all time, goals are very hard to come by. They have talented wingers. Nilson Angulo, who people following Nathan Saliba will know, he's probably the best player in Belgium right now. Left winger, 21, 22 years old. Absolute beast. Gonzalo Plata, Kevin Rodriguez is the top goal scorer in the Jupiler Pro League right now. But it doesn't seem to matter because when these guys come and play for Ecuador, nobody outside of Valencia ever scores. And so this has been a problem since before Becasese, and he hasn't really fixed it. John Yaboa, another European-based player, good guy, but doesn't really score goals for the national team. Honestly, they're kind of like Canada in that way, where they have talented wingers, they just don't score goals. And as a result, Ecuador rarely run up the score. They probably have more goals from set pieces than they do from their wingers in World Cup qualifying if I was going to tally it up. My prediction for this match, a little difficult because I still don't know who Ecuador called up, but I'm going to assume that Moises Caicedo will be back. He was also missing for the last window. That was very important context I should have mentioned earlier. He is by far the best player for Ecuador. He's arguably the best midfielder in South America. The guy's an absolute beast, so that will make a huge difference. Assuming Moises Caicedo plays, I do think Canada will still be able to generate decent chances, but not as much as it was against Australia. As much as I love my Aussies, Ecuador just does what Australia does even better. And you have to have some doubts about this Canadian back line, which once again is going to have to rotate even more. This back line will have never played together. And Ecuador do have individual players capable of punishing you, and I do think they will get a goal in this game. I think it's going to be a 1-1 draw. I would be surprised if we got a 2-2. That just seems like contrary to what both of these teams do in terms of scoring and conceding goals. Honestly, I'm struggling to think of any team scoring more than one. I do think Ecuador is more likely to win, especially with Caicedo back. Again, if he's out or Enner Valencia's out, Kevin Rodriguez is out, talk to me, Pierre Campier. But again, I don't know the squad. I'm going with a 1-1 draw here, but I would give the edge to Ecuador. And now the Venezuela game, and Venezuela are so down bad. And ironically, this entire Venezuela downfall started at the Copa America in the quarterfinals when they lost to Canada on penalties. Ever since then, the morale of this team has truly been broken and shattered. And I don't know how much responsibility you want to give to Canada for that, But that is really the turning point. You're talking about a team that took 9 points in the group stage of the Copa America, had a decent performance against Canada, and then lost on penalties, and it just was implosion from that point forward. Now, if this game was in Venezuela, there is no shot Canada wins there. Canadians, no. You're not going to Maturin and beating Venezuela. That's just not happening. I actually would pick Venezuela to win in that fixture. Do not disrespect how good those guys are at home. They are formidable. Some of y'all will be like, well, Colombia did. Yeah, well, Colombia is one of the best teams in the world right now. And Colombia has been slicing and dicing Venezuela since the dawn of time. That's also kind of like a mild Gran Colombia derby game. Do not compare those two fixtures, okay? With all due respect, you guys are losing to these games in Venezuela. But in Florida, in Fort Lauderdale, it's going to be a kind of an interesting situation because I fully expect Venezuela to be the home team. And if you look at how Venezuela has played all time in the United States, especially at the Copa Americas, they always make it to the knockouts, and they win a lot of games whenever they play in the United States. It is easily the second best fixture or second best location for Vinotinto to play. They have a lot of Venezuelan immigrants in the United States. Canada's definitely the away side in this match, and I think that is going to help balance the books a little bit. Venezuela are very emotional. They need the crowd to have their best performances, and I expect them to have that in this game. That being said, in the last 7 games away from home for Venezuela, 18 goals conceded and 7 losses. Guys, they have lost 7 games outside the border of Venezuela in a row. And some people are like, how did they not qualify for the World Cup? Well, that's how they didn't qualify. They are home merchants, and they cannot put in a shift every time they leave. It's really, really poor. For this game, I'm expecting it to be very similar to the Copa America quarterfinals. You got basically the same teams pulling up with the same managers in the same location. Just this time it's a friendly. And I've been thinking about that because Jesse Marsch's last window didn't really rotate that much for the Colombia game. He basically went with his strongest 11 again. I'm going to assume he will do that here as well. I'm going to assume Jesse Marsch, he really likes certain players for Canada. He really takes his job seriously. And so I do think it's going to be a very strong Canadian 11 again. And I think the result is we're going to see Canada have more of the ball. We're going to see Canada have more of the chances, but we will see some very dangerous Venezuelan counterattacks. There is the revenge factor here. You got to factor that in. Maybe Venezuela gets up more to take down Canada. I'm going to say that Canada wins this game either 1-0 or 2-1. I don't think it's going to be a shootout here either. There is the potential for Canada to run it up and maybe get 3, but I don't think that happens unless Jonathan David is further up the pitch or Promise David starts. If it's Oluwaseyi or if it's Kyle Larin, I just cannot see 3 goals scored. Overall, I do think Canada are taking either 3 or 4 points in this window. I think really getting out of here without a win would look bad. You got to get goals in this window. And if they both come against Venezuela, who cares? Scoring against Ecuador is hard. You will be clowned by Mexican and United States fans because both of them scored against Ecuador last window, but that was without Moises Caicedo, and you cannot overstate that man's importance. I think it's going to be exciting. I will try to go live for one of these. If I can, I'll still be watching them, and I'll have some takeaways here on the channel. So if you guys want to see that, other Canadian national team content, other CONCACAF content, make sure you are subscribed. Smash the like button if you guys enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts down below, and I'll see y'all in the next one.